Have you ever wanted to create a list and be able to scroll to an item which you don't know the layout, you don't know the position, you don't know the width, the height, its layout in general? Well, I'm gonna show you exactly how to do it, where to do it, and how to use it. We'll be using scrollToIndex, and it can be applied to any list inside React Native. It can be a ScrollView, ListView, SectionList, FlatList, my list, your list. On top of that, I'm gonna show you exactly how to keep it in the viewport, because in some cases it's not enough just to scroll to that particular item, but also to keep it at a particular location after scrolling to it. Before jumping into VSCode, if you'd like to have access to this source code, to many others, just consider becoming a patron. I have there more than 60 different animations that involve animated API, reanimated to Moti, gesture handlers, math, and solutions to problems which I've encountered during my React Native app development. And I think that's going to help you out. That's it. And now, let's play the beautiful intro and jump straight into VS Code, finish this tutorial, shall we? Alrighty guys, so we are in VS Code here. I've created a project using Expo. The boilerplate can be found in the description of this video. Go ahead, grab it, add it in your IDE, and start building this. Again, everything that I'm gonna show you here, it's based on React Native. So it can work in Expo environment, but also in Create React Native app without any problems. And it can be applied to a ListView, ScrollView, FlatList, XList, my list, your list, whatever list. Okay, so let me walk you through what we have so far. We have a flat list, we have a dynamic list of items, and I'm just using Faker and I'm rendering alligators or crocodiles. Crocodile names. Yeah, so this is a dummy list, right? Just wanted to show you different widths for the items. I didn't know how to do it properly. And I have some colors that I'm using here, and inside this I have two different navigation systems. One that's going to specify the scroll position of the active item. It's going to be either at the start, middle, or at the end. And also the navigation, it's going to increase or decrease the active index where we would like to scroll. This can be also applied to horizontal, but also to vertical lists. The hard work, it's done by React Native. We just need to specify an index. So first of all, what's this all about? How to use scrollToIndex? scrollToIndex helps you to scroll to a particular item at a specified index, and such that it is positioned in the viewable area such that scrollToIndex lets you scroll to a particular index inside a list. You can also specify a percentage of the viewport where to position that item. You can also specify a different offset and if it's animated or not. So the transition can be animated or no animation. First, I need to create a ref. So we'll have here a ref, React, use ref, and I'll have a flat list and I'll specify null initially. And the ref, it's here. And what we can do actually with this ref is we can control the index to specify the initial index where to start to the flat list using initial scroll index property, and I would like to start from 0. And instead of having this hard coded, I would like to have an index here that's coming from a state. So index, set index, it's a React use state, and I'll start from 0. So far so good, right? So we have a flat list, we specify the ref, and we also specify the initial scroll index where it's going to start. So if I specify here, let's say 2, it's going to go to the second one. And if I specify here 0, it's going to go to the first one. And right now with the navigation itself, I like to, if you press on the right hand side, I would like to go to the next index. So let's implement this one. If I go to the navigation itself, if I press on the left arrow, I would like to decrement the index. So on press here, I like to say if index is equal to 0, just return. I don't want to go below 0. But otherwise, I would like to set the index to index -1. The same use case is going to be for the going to the next one. So I will specify if index is equal to data length -1, I'll just want to return. Otherwise, I'll just increment the index. So if I hit save, now I have a navigation system that's going to modify the position basically from the scroll. But you notice that nothing is actually visible. And just to emphasize whatever item it's visible, let me play around with the styles for it. So inside the FlatList here where I'm rendering the item, I can specify a different background color in case the index that comes from the FlatList it's equal to the active index. So I'll specify here if the FlatList index is equal to index, I would like to have colors active, otherwise colors inactive. So now you can see that this is actually working, but it's not scrolling to that particular index. And how can we do it? Well, when this index is going to be changed, I would like to scroll to index using an imperative method available for us on the ref. So whenever the index is going to change, use effect and the dependency is the index, I would like to get the ref and I would like to scroll to a particular index. And this scrolling to a particular index, I need to specify the index, if it's animated or not, and viewOffset and viewPosition. For those two properties, we will take a look after we implement scrolling to an index. So first I'll need to specify the index and if it's animated. So I would like to have it animated. Why not? So if I press save, whenever I'm changing now the index is going to scroll to that index. So it's scrolling, scrolling, scrolling. Just notice how powerful this is. It's going to scroll, but the items have dynamic widths. This is pretty powerful. And it's going to enable a lot of use cases that you can play around with. And now, we would like to, the active item, we would like to keep it, let's say, either on the left-hand side, in the middle, or on the right-hand side. And in order to do that, we can play around with viewPosition. ViewPosition is saying where you'd like to keep the active item in the viewport. So if I specify here 0.5, it's going to be in the middle of the screen. If I specify 1, it's going to be at the end of the screen. If I specify 0, it's going to be at the beginning of the screen, right? So if I move now with ViewPosition 0.5, it's going to keep it in the middle. If I change it to 0.2, it's going to be 20% from the left. So basically this is a percentage from the viewport, starting from left hand side. So just specify how much you'd like to have it, right? So this ViewPosition I would like to modify using those 3 different buttons. So I'll have it left it's 0, 0.5 and 1. And for that we also need to have a state. So I'll stay here a ViewPosition and set ViewPosition. React use state, and we'll start again from 0 because I would like to have it at the left edge, right? And I'll specify here ViewPosition. So right now it's 0. And I would like to modify it based on those scroll positions. So if I scroll down to the scroll position, for the left, I would like to say set view position to 0. For the center, I would like to have it 0.5, final one at 1. And now just to ensure that I'm scrolling to the right position whenever I'm setting the view position, I also need to add view position as a dependency to this use effect. So view position as dependency. And now if I'm modifying the scroll position, you'll notice that now it's at the end, in the middle, and at the start. Middle, and middle, start, middle, end. You notice that in some cases it's directly at the edge of the screen, and we don't want to have that. We want to have it scrolled to the left hand side but with a different offset. So you can specify a view offset, and this one it's in points or pixels. So if I specify here 10, it's going to add a gap here. If I specify 50, it's going to add 50 pixels as a gap. And because the spacing between items, it's spacing in my example, I just want to offset it with a spacing. So now whenever I'm modifying it, you'll notice that it's not going to be directly at the edge of the screen, but instead it's going to have a dedicated offset. And in this case, you see, I don't want to keep it with an offset if it's in the middle or at the end. I just want to have view offset 0 because the offset is already applied on the left hand side, and I don't want to do that. I just want to have it like this. And in order to do that, we need to have some if statements here where we will remove the offset based on the view position. If view position is equal to 0.5, meaning in the middle, or view position it's equal to 1 at the end, I don't want to have any view offset. Otherwise, just specify the spacing or the view offset. And now you'll notice that it's not going to take into account the view offset. But we can also modify the active index when you press on an item. So here inside the render item within the FlatList, I have a touchable opacity that's wrapping each individual item, and I can set the index with the F index. And now if I press on the item, it's going to scroll. Okay. Just to add more things on top of that, I'll be using Moti to modify the active state of the item and add just a little animation to that. And to do it, instead of using a view, this view here, I would like to use a Moti view. So Moti view, import Moti from Modify components here, and specify an animate. And for the animate, I would like to animate the background color. If it's active, I just want to have it active, otherwise inactive. But I would also like to play around with the opacity. So if f index is equal to index, this is active, right? I would like to have it 1, otherwise 0.6. And now I can also remove the background color here. And now watch what will happen whenever I'm changing this index. So everything is animated, you see, it's animated. It's not just snapping. And on top of that, we can specify a different transition. So I will specify a transition and I'll play around with the duration, let's say 500, which is half a second, just to make this more visible. Isn't that nice? So just to recap, a scrollToIndex is a method exposed by the ref from a FlatList, ScrollView, you name it. And it's an imperative method. You can call it using multiple properties. The index where to scroll, if the scrolling is animated or not, a view offset where what gap to add after scrolling to the item, and the view position, the percentage from the viewport, starting from left hand side. Alright, you guys, so that was it. I hope that you've learned how to use scrollToIndex and how to scroll to a particular item even though you don't know the layout of that item, and how to use viewPosition to position it based on the viewport. It's like middle, left, top. If you're not a subscriber, consider subscribe to this channel. Also hit the bell button just to be notified whenever I'm posting something new. Other than that, thank you for watching and see you in the next one. Bye bye.